And I like that you mentioned life is good because there are times where you're going through life and you go through some obstacles, and it kind of dives into the topic that we're going to talk about today. And the main question is, does hardship make a person stronger? Looking at hardships, I want to break them down a little bit because obviously you could have personal hardships, where you're dealing with some issues with your, not really issues, but I think kind of that dream that you had could be considered a hardship, right?
Yeah, a very slow burn.
A slow burn, this conflicting matter that you're going through.
Yeah.
Relationships, of course, finances, which I feel like it should be a hardship on everyone at one point in their lives, at least. Emotional hardships, and then like any big changes in life, like you mentioned, moving. I'm moving as well. That could also, that's going to be a hardship as well. It's going to increase stress. But do you think going through these hardships, do you think on the other end of it, does it make you stronger, or does it feel like some unnecessary stress that we don't need to go through?
Well, from my experience, it depends. So, from my experience, I feel like I had a very easy childhood, and nothing really went wrong. For like nothing detrimental, out of the blue. The worst thing that probably happened was death in the family, but it was expected, kind of thing, like your grandmother or something. So I felt like because I had such a, I don't know, easy life, and I feel like I was liked by everyone, and I knew what I was good at. So like right after high school, I wasn't in any hard college. I didn't go to college. I just jumped straight into this like floaty lifestyle of being a musician. So I had, I was around circles of people that was just approving of me and what I was doing. So it felt good. And then really the first thing I think that destroyed me was going through a divorce. Mm-hmm. I mean, that made me understand depression and depressed people and the feeling that they describe as like just, you don't want to do anything, like hopelessness, just empty. And all you want to do is just let time pass, and it's just a weird thing. And I felt like that because that was such a hard thing for me, and I didn't have anything before that kind of almost prepped me for it. It just set me back for a while, and it still, I still struggle with some of that, but what I struggle with now is just trying to be preemptive because I'm afraid of things out of my control, people around me that I can't control. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I have this tendency to just keep a lot of friends. I think even moving in the military has made me keep a lot of friends at arm's length. I'm not really a super close good friend like I used to be. And maybe that's just getting older. I think a lot of people do that in general, getting older.
You're better than me. I forgot your birthday.
Ha, dude. No way.
Go ahead, keep going, sorry.
I'm really bad with friends' birthdays. I don't remember hardly anyone's. But, yeah, I don't know. I felt like that just, that was super, super hard. So for a while, I feel like it didn't make me better, like stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe some people have, they're kind of made like the way that, like, I guess we could throw it back to personality types, and maybe you have certain strengths and weaknesses towards certain things. So you're kind of already maybe prepped for being more resilient than others. I don't know if that's true or not, but I feel like I look at people around me and they don't, like I get overwhelmed with things that go wrong or certain things a lot easier, I think, than a lot of other people. So I have to be a lot more cognizant and like practice these things and keep and check my perception. And like, I don't know, I have to really be aware. So it's exhausting, but I don't know. I think in general, of course, failure and, falling down and getting back up and, all the experience you gain from that on paper, I think is good. But for me, the only thing I can really relate it to was I had one really hard thing happen, and it kind of just fucked me up for a while, being totally real. And everything's good now. But like I said, I still have these like traumatic feelings sometimes. Like, You know, my girlfriend gets the brunt of that sometimes. It's not fair to her.
Yeah.
But it's like this weird reactionary thing I have sometimes.
No,
and
I
I
get
do
that.
it with her. I do it with everyone. It's like it takes me a long, long time to let the walls down sometimes, or let people in, or really open up and talk about real things. You know, it took me. I should have went to a therapist 2 years ago, probably, or longer. And it took me. I just started going a few months ago. You know, I just had enough of this chapters of ups and downs, and I was like, well, I'm good. I'm feeling good now, but I know the valley's coming, you know, and I don't want that anymore. So
no, I get
don't
that.
know.
And
I don't know.
I like that you mentioned the walls coming down, because I'll start where, you know, growing up, I think I saw a counselor. I forgot how old I was, or a therapist, a couple times, but whew, man, the emotions were flowing, and it was mainly because mom and dad, you know, they split up, and kind of, you know, dad did his own thing, lived with my mom, and I was always holding that in as a kid, how frustrated I was with it, and then come to find out, you know, I talked about it more with them, or with the counselor, and my mom was there with me as well. So, and like me talking about it, it actually kind of solved it a little bit, because obviously I never really talked about it. So my mom hearing it for the first time, how I actually felt, she actually kind of rekindled. I mean, like, my mom and dad were separated from what I was age, like 3 to 10. Here I'm 11 years old, 10, 11 years old, breaking this down. And it kind of opens your eyes a little bit. And for some reason, they get back together. Everything's good to go. So obviously there was a positive effect from, you know, like opening up, letting the walls down. And then they split apart a little shortly after. But I mean, that's the positive impact right there is what I wanted to focus on the most. And then that was a tough hardship for me. And then obviously those that know me, we're gonna get real personal here on the podcast. Hope you guys enjoy this. But it was 2015. Mom passed away unexpectedly, and then 2017, Dad passed away unexpectedly, and 2015 with my mom. After that happened, I was, and that could be more why I am the way that I am today with my feelings, and just like keep them in a little bit more. Because when that happened, I was just so frustrated, and like trying to figure out why and all this kind of stuff. All my emotions were just spewing out of me, and I didn't like that. That was uncharacteristic of me. So kind of changed that. And then 2017 with my dad, I was actually in ALS during that time. Oh, it was like the third week. And then, you know, I find out the news the night before class. I go back, and it's just like this instructor's teaching something, and I'm just like not there, obviously. Yeah. She pulls me aside. She asks what's going on, of course. I tell her. They give me the option to, pull out and start again some other time. And that was like the last thing. I mean, if you go through any kind of hardship like that, I feel like not really keep your mind busy, but I think as it happens, you have to stay focused on, you know, what's going on in your life and not get sidetracked. And of course, I mean, you're going to have that time to grieve or reflect, but you should try to do it in a time where it's not completely throwing you off your path or whatever you're trying to do. So, and I agree with what you're saying with eventually I think they make you stronger. But during the time of them, I mean, I think it's just, I want to focus on the best way of dealing with them, or how could you improve the process of dealing with a hardship? Because I mean, personally, I believe having someone close, having some friends close, was huge for me throughout it. Having someone to talk to. Tori was there by the side for both of them, and that she played a huge part. And then a couple of friends, you know, I mean, you were there close, especially always checking up on me. So I think having that circle, having that group, and the family and friends is huge to get through them, for overcoming them. I think I just ran out of. I was going to move on to something else, but I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead.
And I remember like when that happened with your mom, because kind of going back to like, I haven't had anything like that happen to someone close that I remember. Mm-hmm. So I remember not even knowing how to deal with that, to even talk to you. I felt like I was like, I don't even know if I should even talk to you or just like not even text or just let you process it. Because I feel like here I am living this like nothing bad happened life. How am I supposed to be like someone that can be like you could listen to me or understand, or it's hard to explain.
No, I get.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to even be there to be like, "Hey, man, I understand," or even say anything like that because I obviously can't understand anything like that.
Yeah.
Especially it happened 2 years, at both your mom and dad. Mm-hmm. So it's crazy. It's like I feel like we're maybe on the exterior, but to me, it's like I feel like I throw everything out there so much. Like I'm always like anyone close to me is just like, man, Jesse's unstable sometimes, and I'm just like processing things, and I'm just trying to talk it out more with people around me. Mm-hmm. And then I feel like I've had nothing really tough happen. And then there's someone like you that I often think of who handles things more in a way I would want to. I don't know. Or you seem like you're just so resilient, and I don't know, you seem so strong about everything, and your life is completely in order. Or so it seems. And I feel like I'm just a wreck all the time. And I guess that's probably me just comparing myself to people. And I don't mean to, but then I do it. And I'm like, man, I feel like just a wreck. Like a fog in my head all the time. I can't figure things out.
It could be, I mean, we just kind of got personal and talked about our experiences. And I think after all that happened, I'm not going to say I became numb to, I don't know, a family member passing away or anything like that, but it just I with my mom I went through it tough. With my dad it was a lot easier because I went through that process, I think, and I knew how I was going to be on the other side, and how time moves on and how it's life. So that's why I think that the experiences are so good to go through, the hardships, and just because you're more prepped and you're more prepared to kind of like tackle and overcome any others that you experience throughout your life. So
the sad thing is I remember talking to one of my friends about it here maybe a couple years ago, and I was just like, yeah, I'm fine, whatever. Told her about it, and she was just like, she just blatantly said, she was like, you're never going to be the same. And I was like, I didn't want to come to that realization that she was right. And because I looked at it in such a negative way that I was like I've completely lost my innocence and optimism on life now in a certain way. Like the excitement's gone, something's gone, or something has changed. And viewed it in just such a negative way when she said that so bluntly. I was like, no, I don't want to change. I want to remain this same super fun, optimistic, fun-loving guy. But I'm not. And, you kind of, it's like I had an identity crisis sometimes because I viewed myself as this guy that everyone loved to be around, that was always friendly and optimistic and fun. I could bring people up. And then something like that happens and it changes you. And then you have to come to the grips like, you know what, that's life. And you do change. You do maybe become a little bit more cynical or less innocent and excited about things, I guess, sometimes, But I guess there's a good side to that, for instance, maybe I do keep people at a distance now because I'm afraid of people moving away like they do in our careers, or you moving away and losing friends. And I even thought that about you. I remember you leaving that parking lot. I saw you when you were driving away. I was like, rough. I was like, man, because we were so close.
Yeah.
And I felt like you were one of the first best friends I'd made since I don't know when.
Military, at least,
Yeah. And then you driving away, I was like, man, that's it. That was like a heartbreak for me because I was like,
I haven't even thought about that. Golly.
Yeah. Because I thought I was like, well, we're going to fall apart because that's what people do when they're not around each other, usually. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. And then there's been repetitions of that. And then you go through a breakup that's hard. But then the good side is, I guess it makes you pick people, I guess, a little bit more wiser. Like let people in your circles or your circle of trust or whatever a little bit, better. you keep the negative people out. You're a little bit more selective, I think. Because, I mean, I don't know. I guess that's anyone. You learn through the crazy, dramatic people that you end up finding yourself around, and then you start to pick your people very closely.
Oh, yeah.
You know? I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to find something good out of that. But I think everyone handles hardships differently. I feel like
they do.
I'm still, even at 32, man, I feel like I still have a really hard time. I get overwhelmed like crazy. So still trying to work on it.
I think regardless, we're talking about all people here and how they could treat different hardships differently and how each person does it differently. I think it's just important for each person to consciously, tell themselves to take action, and move forward. Because I mean, the worst part about hardships and the worst thing that could happen for someone going through it is letting it kick you down and you just staying down, and then the rest of your life comes crashing down. So, I think personally speaking, and I'm not an expert. I've been through some hardships in life. I feel like the biggest thing I could say is to actually take action. I mean, it comes down to that. Take control of your life, because it's your life, and just keep moving forward. Because no matter how old you are, you still got time ahead of you, and you can't let one hardship, one obstacle, one negative thing set you back. I mean, you're gonna have time to reflect on it, but I promise you can reflect on this kind of stuff while moving forward. It's not the easiest thing to do, but you find you're around the right people and you're in the right situation, you can make it happen. So.
Yeah, that's good. And I feel like what's good about what we just said both ways is, like you were talking about how when your dad died, you had the choice to just drop out of the class you were in and kind of give in to that cutting yourself off from something, and kind of giving into that woe is me sort of thing. And I feel like I did that. I feel like when the hardship really happened, when I realized the world was crashing down that I was in, I didn't do anything about it. I went to work miserable, and I came home and I was a zombie until I went to work again, and I didn't do anything. And it only made things incredibly worse, and it prolonged, and it went on for about 6 months probably. Shut down, So there's a good example of here's two different paths you can take. And I understand there's some people, when bad things happen and depression, whatever, it hits you hard, and I understand it, and I still have had that since I've lived here in Alaska. I'll have waves and days, sometimes I haven't in a while, where it's just like nothing can make you feel better, and you don't want to do anything. All you want to do is sit in a corner and do nothing. But you got to, for me, I think you just have to do small steps and just focus on getting better and get out of your head. And go see a therapist too. That helps too.